She missed a few rallies there in the summertime. She took some time off, but she's doing very well. We're delighted that she's out today. But it is a great event, and I understand that there are a lot of events like this throughout the country. And this should be very significant. We won't be on the evening news tonight. I'm quite sure of that around the country. But we are on the evening news every single night, every single day, and we're on the minds of the people every single day because there is a crisis in this country. One of, if not worse than the crisis of the Depression of the 30s, and that's on endlessly. And we know who caused it. It was the Federal Reserve that gave us all this trouble. Concern and interest about monetary policy comes and goes. When things are in the boom phase of a cycle, everybody loves it. And they ignore it and they don't care because they're getting a free ride. And we've had an especially good free ride for decades now because we've had a system that was devised where the dollar could act as if it were gold. This has occurred since 1971. Absolutely beneficial to us because we were printing the world gold, in essence. So they were willing to take our dollars. We knew they were building this huge financial bubble, and we knew it would come to an end. So now, the economic crisis is the top agenda in the whole country, but our job is to make sure the people come to the full realization and understanding of the relationship of who controls the money and why we have the economic crisis. And that is what the job is of campaigns and organizations and rallies like this. So I compliment you for coming and joining in and understanding this issue. When the Bretton Woods Agreement broke down on August 15, 1971, which was a Sunday, it brought about loud cheers in the marketplace. Stock market soared. Nixon closed the gold window, put on wage and price controls, and he raised taxes. The business community loved it. Until a few days later they realized it was a disaster. The 1970s turned out to be terrible, inflation and recession, but it brought about a new economic system. And since that time, we have been able to spend beyond our means, live beyond our means, print money beyond our means, and all live much better than we really have been had earned. So we were living beyond our means. So the country benefited, and we had it on the surface had an appearance of great wealth. But it was doomed to fail, and that is what the announcement has been in this past year, is the failure of the dollar reserve standard that was set up in August of 1971. It has ended. The only question that is to be answered right now is what is it going to be replaced with? And believe me, they're working very hard to devise a new system. And they're talking about an international fiat currency paper system with the loss of U.S. sovereignty in total. And our goal has to be not only to restore the integrity of our money and our dollar and our Constitution, we have to stop this move toward one world government and a one world currency. Periodically, the money issue soars to the forefront. It's there right now today. But there's a lot of work and a lot of danger because if we don't win, we lose our liberties and we further lose our Constitution. But at the time of the Constitutional Convention, this was one of the key issues, was the monetary issue. They had gone through runaway inflation with the continental dollar. So that is why the founders knew and understood that they had to put prohibitions in the Constitution. They said no emitting of bills of credit, no paper money, only gold and silver as legal tender, and no authority for a central bank. And of course, this hard money people won that argument. The Constitution was written in such a way that we knew that gold and silver were to be legal tender and no central bank. But immediately after that, the Federalists changed it all, established a national bank. The big argument between the Jeffersonians and the Hamiltonians started right off the bat, because historically throughout all history, there's always been a fight over who can control the money. So what we're facing today is not brand new. It is the power of government that wants to control the money because it can control the people. The freer the country, the more likely it is that you will have a sound currency with no national control of the currency whatsoever. But that didn't last long. Of course, we do know that when Jefferson had the chance to deal with the first national bank, what did Jefferson do? He got rid of the national bank. Only for the second national bank to be established. Then along came another hard money man who said that he didn't like the bankers and he didn't like government power designed and worked around the monetary issue. So who came along to get rid of the second national bank? That was Andrew Jackson, and he got rid of it. But lo and behold, in 1913, the American people complacent and the Congress complicit in it went along and said, oh no, we have to have a national bank once again. So the Federal Reserve System was set up. And so we've been struggling. We've been struggling since 1913. There was a linkage to gold up until 1971. But the erosion continued, and now we're seeing the erosion of our prosperity. But we have now seeing, which is to our benefit, it is written on the wall, it is the end of this system that we have today. They cannot patch it up. They can't put it back together again. They know it, and we know it. The only argument is, what is it going to be replaced with? The other day, Bernanke was before the banking committee, and I asked him explicitly, because he had just been in Europe, whether he had talked to the other central bankers and made any plan whatsoever for an international reserve currency. He said no. But you know, he's on the side of the law, not on the side of the Constitution. Right. But the law is written that he has no obligation to tell us anything of what he does. Monetary policy, any kind of conversations with other central bankers, the law explicitly says he does not have to reveal anything that he does. So I pressed him a little bit further, and I said, does the subject of gold ever come up? And he said no, and then he quickly corrected himself because he wouldn't, because he really wanted to destroy the idea, the concept that we might someday move in the direction of having a commodity standard. So he quickly said, oh yeah, it comes up when we talk about selling gold. Yeah. But what he's saying there is very, very important. He admitted that the central banks do get together, they do talk, and they do dump gold for a very precise reason. They do that to pretend that the dollar is still more valuable than it really is. In the 1960s, up until 71, Nixon and Republicans and Democrats alike, because the law said the dollar, after Bretton Woods established in 44, the dollar was as good as gold at $35 an ounce. So foreigners started coming in. They knew we had printed all this money, and they got sending the dollars back. And we had given away 500 ounces of gold at $35 an ounce, so we were running out of gold because we had abused the system, and that's why that had to come to an end. But in a way, they were giving away this gold at this artificially low price to try to prove the dollar was really strong. Well, that broke down, and the dollar was devalued, and we had all the inflation that came. But they've done this now in the last 10 or 15 years, I'm convinced, because they do admit it. Central banks in the West especially have been dumping gold to artificially lower the price of gold in order to artificially pretend the dollar is of great value. And they're still doing it. But they're running out of time, and they're running out of gold because the gold is getting into the hands of the economic powers who are stronger. And those are the ones who have been working hard, saving money, loaning the money back to up, and are ready to buy up America if we continue to do this. So the Asian banks are buying the gold. The Europeans and the Americans and others are dumping gold. So the other nations, including Muslim nations, even before the Bank Committee, I did point out to Bernanke that the Iranians have just bought $75 billion worth of gold and put it in reserves. So it is a contest. There's no doubt there is a contest between sound money and hard money, and that is such an important issue. To me, the money issue has been key. In 1971,